You're listening to the WB Download, coming to you from Wieland Builders Showroom in Studio 1C. We are a podcast centered around building custom homes, the customer experience of building a custom home, and a really entertaining listen from many great guests and interviews that may or may not have anything to do with building. I'm excited to share with you their voice and their stories that will enhance your idea of the custom builder world. All right, welcome everybody. This is Jeff Wieland, president of Wieland Builders, coming to you live from Studio 1C here at WB headquarters. Thanks for joining us here on today, June 13th. It's Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. And I'm not sure which episode number this is of our podcast, but it's a whole bunch. And we have a great show coming to you today. Our guest is none other than Lora Brand, who is the executive officer of the Greater Cincinnati Home Builders Association. And as you know, I get pretty excited about these people who are coming on the show because I have a great amount of respect for what they do, for who they are, and what they have to say, and you know what they've done for in my life or around the Home Builders Association. This is a really big deal for us. So let's roll into it, and let's get to the what's happening part of our episode. So today, June 13th, man, you know, let's talk about the weather. Of course, we are in the middle of a big drought. We are hoping for some rain this week. It's been over a month since we've had some rain. Things are drying up pretty good, and leave it to me to get back into the cattle business. And the first year that we have our place full, we're running out of grass quicker than we know. So we're hoping that the good Lord's going to spread some water on us, and so let's hope for that. Everything. Plus, you know, when we're pouring concrete, when we're on the job, everybody worries about things that in the wintertime, talking about the elements outside. But in the summertime, we have to take just as many precautions as we do in the wintertime. And it's due to things like this. When the ground's too dry, you have to make sure that we get it moistened up, get to pour concrete on it. You have to watch out for the temperature. You have to watch out for the wind. You have to watch out for things drying out so quick. Same thing with the interior. You know, we have to make sure that those interior utilities are on. Those utilities are on so the interior of the house can acclimate. If it gets too hot in there, you know, the humidity's too high, things can really get messed up. So it's the same in the summer as it is in the wintertime. And also happening right now is over the weekend, our Homearama show had started. We're going to talk a lot about Homearama today on the show with Lora as she's here. But I hope we're going to talk a lot about Homearama. That's probably the main reason why we're airing this episode, because we're right in the middle of it, or we're getting into the middle of it. Homearama is a big show that happens here. It's put on by our Home Builders Association of Greater Cincinnati. It's a single site show, which means that you can go to a neighborhood and tour these unbelievable homes that are really high class. Some of them are very different. Sometimes in years past, we've had some very different shows. You know, they weren't just neighborhoods. They were down on a river, in the Ohio River, down in Cincinnati. This particular show is in Kentucky, and it's called Martin's Gate, and it's on the hillside overlooking the river, which makes for some very challenging building, but it also makes for an awesome show because it's not something you get to see every day, and hopefully everybody can make it out and see it. So on the farm, man, like I said, it's dried up, and we're bush hogging, trying to knock the tops off the fescue and get it to drop down and reseed itself. And we planted a big hay field, of course, put a lot of money back in there. We graded it up, got it perfect, exactly the way we wanted it, planted it. And of course, we haven't had any rain, so it's still sitting there, and I'm watching all that my money and my seed bake in the sun. So hopefully we get some rain, and we probably have to reseed it again in the fall here. Just getting ready for that hay crop, and when our goal on our farm is to be able to raise our own feedstuffs on the farm, and rotate that whole deal. So anything that comes out of the ground goes into the cows, and just turn it. That was my goal. So anyway, that's what's happening. We're finishing up baseball season, and one most important thing that I have to mention that happened over the weekend is my dad, Jack Wieland's birthday was on June 10th. And I believe he turned 112. I'm not sure if that was the number or not, but happy birthday to him once again. And I hope he enjoyed it. And man, we just celebrate some birthdays around here. And coming up next here is Father's Day, and it's not something nearly as celebrated as we do Mother's Day, because fathers aren't nearly as important as mothers. Kidding, but it's something that we had to pay attention to. So everybody, make sure that that's on your calendar, and make sure that's on your radar, make sure that as you go out and celebrate the dads in the world out there. So hey, that's what's happening right now on this June 13th, Tuesday, 2023, and let's rock on into our episode with Lora Brand, the executive officer of the Home Builders Association. I want to preface this again. My history, and I don't want to make this about me, but my history in the Home Builders Association runs pretty deep. My first job was when I was in the 6th grade working for the HomeArama show at Calumet Farms. And I think I was, 12 years old, somewhere in there. And then that tradition continued on through the years, and then as we got older, my friends joined me, and that was the first thing we'd do. As soon as we get out of school, we were working at HomeArama, putting the show together, working during the show, cleaning it up, driving golf carts around, and then we would be tearing the show down afterwards, breaking it all down and getting it put back into a neighborhood. And as time went on, I was the youngest president of the association, still am. I was president when I think I turned 30 the day that I became president. Which is a big deal because it's a big undertaking. And the first time I was on the board, I was 22 years old, maybe, and everybody else on that board was a hell of a lot older than I was. And I was been blessed to be surrounded by a lot of really intelligent dudes, a lot of people and builders and people I could look up to, people I could learn from, and the Home Builders Association has set my path. And I've also volunteered a hell of a lot of my life to it. And so, hey, that it's really important to me. And that's why this guest, Lora Brand, is so important to me as well. She's been here for about a year in the executive officer's position, but we're going to find out more about her. So let's bring her in. All right, everybody. This is Jeff Wieland, president of Wieland Builders, and I am here today with our guest, Lora Brand from the Greater Cincinnati Home Builders Association. I almost said Ohio Home Builders Association. Greater Cincinnati Home Builders Association. That's GCHBA. Funny story, when we were on our executive committee trip one time, a couple of the guys might have been a little bit hungover, and we started the meeting out with say GCHBA, and one of the guys said, "What's GCHBA?"
That's a good start to a meeting.
It was a great start to the meeting. It cracked us up. So, Lora, welcome. You've been here in this position for a little bit more than a year.
Yeah.
So I just want to welcome you. Thank you for coming in here to do this. We appreciate you.
Happy to be here.
And I appreciate everything you do for the Home Builders Association. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I don't think I know much about you. I know a little bit about you, but not much about you. And tell everybody where you come from, who you are. What's your deal?
My deal. Well, my deal is I grew up south of Columbus in a small rural town called Asheville, home of the one-eyed traffic light, which if you're not aware of it, you should check it out. You can Google it. You'll find it. It's actually deemed the world's oldest traffic light. So, and it's got a very futuristic look to it, even though it came from back in the day.
So was it the first traffic light ever?
No, it's just
if it's not the first traffic light, how could it be the oldest traffic light?
Well, it's the oldest functioning traffic light.
Functioning traffic light. Okay.
Yes, but it's in the Asheville Museum.
Okay.
So, you have that. That's a claim to fame.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. But growing up in the Columbus area, I was a huge Buckeye fan and was expected to go to Ohio State. So I was a rebel without a cause and did not go to Ohio State. I came down in this area and went to Wilmington. So I was a fighting Quaker. How's that for an oxymoron?
Fighting Quaker.
Fighting Quaker. They're no longer the Fighting Quakers. I think they're like the Earth Shakers, or I don't know.
I wonder who does the Quaker offend? I mean, is that why they quit calling them the Quakers, you think? Because it offended somebody, or they just felt like they needed a change?
Well, no, it's the fighting, because they're peace. They're all about peace.
Oh, I know.
You can't be the Fighting Quakers.
So are they still the Quakers, though?
No, they're like the Earth Shakers.
Yeah, okay.
It's like the Fighting Earth Shakers.
That's as dumb as the Indians going to the Guardians, I mean, that's horrible.
There you go.
Yeah.
Welcome to today.
You're right. So you're at Wilmington College, you're in Southwest Ohio, which I think is cool. I like Wilmington College. They've got a great agriculture. It's not too much different than Ohio State, a lot smaller, but they've got a great agricultural program too. That's probably why you were there, right?
It's a lot different than Ohio State by, about 49,000 people, I'd say. I don't know, but yeah.
We should start filming this so people could see our reactions. And when I say stupid stuff like that, people are like, what is wrong with them? Man.
No film.
What's so you're down at Wilmington College, and where do you go from there? You graduate, do you go back home, or?
Yeah, so I go back home, and I stay there for a couple years. Fast forward, I get married, I come to Cincinnati, and here I am, still here.
Well, that's a great story. Well, okay. Thanks for coming in.
I skipped some of those details a little bit, but no. So when I graduated from college, I actually worked for a home builder in Columbus, which I loved, but it wasn't doing what I went to school for. So I was actually doing accounting and finance, and I went to school for marketing. And so I stayed there for a couple years, ended up going to work for a big tech firm back in the day, CompuServe. I don't know if you remember that. They were like the business side of online, of internet when it came about. And then shortly after I went there, AOL came in and bought CompuServe, which was huge because they were actually big rivals. And so I stayed there for a while, but once I got married, my husband at the time was a builder and came down here to work. I've just been here since.
Who is the builder that you work for in Columbus? Are they still in business?
They are not.
And so you can't say their name, or you can?
Well, I mean, it was Bohr Corporation was the name, and they operated under Dominion Homes and Tradition Homes.
Yeah.
And I think one of the brothers is actually still doing his own thing, but under a different name.
Yeah, I remember those guys while I was up there. I think I might have called them for an internship when I was living up that way while I was in school. So you have family here now, or their family is still back looking at the traffic light?
Yeah, my family's still back looking at the traffic light in the museum. So I am down here with my husband. We have 4 girls together, so we have a blended family. And the twins just graduated from college, so we're hoping to start collecting royalties soon.
Right. That's why you have kids, girls, right? For retirement.
Well, and they're all within 18 months of one another.
Oh, wow.
So you can imagine what it was like at my house at any given time.
Man. That's a lot.
I let my husband, he has the male dog.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That explains a lot now when I see Tommy.
Yeah, right?
Really, man. Yeah.
You have a new, different appreciation
all the time.
for him,
he smells
right?
good. He's always like, yeah, you got a bunch of girls around your house. So what brought you to how'd you get to the Home Builders Association?
Yeah. So once I came down here, when I went to work for CompuServe, it was in database marketing, and that kind of was the catapult of my marketing career. And I spent the past 25 plus years doing market research. Had a great career and loved what I was doing. During COVID, like so many others, like I just really found myself in a dark place where I was burnout. I was working incredibly insane hours. And some of that I put on myself because I think there was this expectation, like, what else are you going to do? You got work to get done, but the nature of the business that I was in was face-to-face. It was qualitative research. And so when everything went into lockdown, our business dropped significantly. And so I ended up laying off a good portion of my team. And then we were able to pivot pretty quickly and rebound online. Then our business takes back off, and I have a much smaller team. And so, we had all this work and we had to get it done. And so you just start working. And I also started kind of thinking about, like, what do I want to do with my life? Like, what makes me happy? And maybe that's partly my age too, but I kept going back to when I worked for the home builder, how much I loved it. In my mid-20s, I flipped a house before flipping was cool. So it was an old house. It was built in 1866.
Where was that at?
It was in Marysville, Ohio.
Okay, yeah.
And honestly, I think we would have been better off had we knocked the house down. But a funny story about that, when we demoed the house. So, of course, this was my first husband and all of his builder friends come in, and we demoed the inside all in one day, which was stupid in hindsight. But somebody threw a toilet out of the upstairs window and it landed upright in the front yard. So it kind of became this thing where it stayed for a while we were redoing the house. And in your 20s, you think that's really funny. And I look back now and I'm like, oh my gosh, what our neighbors must have thought of us. But they actually, they loved us because we were, we took a house that was run down and we were redoing it, and it was beautiful in the end. But
nobody was using the commode in the front yard. I mean, that's usually what happens when you're in the 20s. That somebody goes out there and thinks, well, I should do this.
I put flowers in it.
Then the neighbors get upset. That's when they start getting upset. They don't care if it's sitting there, but just don't use it.
Right. So anyway, I totally lost track of where I was going. So, but
you're flipping a house, you got a commode in the front yard, and you're making money.
I've always gone to the home shows. I remember going to the ones out at TPC where you have your plan book and it's a night. It's like a date night, and you have to pick out which houses you're going to because there are so many and you're not going to be able to get through all of them. And so I've always been interested in that. And so my husband, as you mentioned, Tommy with Phantom Sound, little
oh my gosh, really? Here we go.
What else would you like for a sound that's meant to be heard and not seen?
You want to put an address out there and a phone number or anything
I
like
would
that?
if I knew it off the top of my head, but I don't. Sorry. Phantom Sound. Just check them out online. But anyway, I lost my train of thought again. This is what happens.
You're flipping, and then you got Tommy. You're married.
So he told me about the position. So he knew I was kind of going through this journey, and he told me about the position. And initially, I'm like, I read through the description, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't have all of the experience they're looking for. And I think that's the difference between a man and a woman is a woman looks at it and you want to have 100% of what's on that list. And a man looks at it, it's like, I got 25% of it. I'm good to go. Really?
I mean, you come in here throwing this stuff around about men and women.
But you look nice today.
Oh, thank you.
So anyway, I had the description sitting there. I kind of put it off to the side. And it just happened to be the day that the deadline for submitting applications. And I sent it through at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And Alan Gerbus reminds me of that pretty much every time I see him, that I came in at the 11th hour with my application. So yeah.
Well, at least he's not egoing it up and walking around going, you're here because of me. All right.
Well, he may be. I don't know.
He's not like that. What a great guy. Let's talk about Alan Gerbus. I don't want to talk about other builders on here, but I've been really good friends with him for a long time. And he's just such a super guy.
Stand-up guy.
He was the lead of that charge, him and TJ, I think, and to the EO search committee. I was like the third or fourth one that I've been on. And really excited about how it turned out, obviously, because you're here and you look nice too, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Today. We kind of went through like how you decided to apply for it, but what you can apply for it, but what really attracted you, like, I think about when I'm going to hire somebody, I'm giving them the opportunity to come and do something great. And I think that somebody in your position as an executive position, you're looking at the same opportunity, like you're going to do something great for the organization. You need to have that happy medium in between there to say, you're great, the organization's great, what's going to bring it together? How did you, what made you really want to be here?
Well, I think after having the conversations, there's a lot of opportunity. And I don't think people really realize what goes into this role, how broad it is. And when I looked at it, to me, it represented a challenge, which I kind of thrive in that environment. Tell me I can't do something and I'm going to kill myself to prove to you that I can. So it just, as I looked at it, and again, there were things on there that I don't have experience in, like the governmental affairs. I've dealt with a lot of corporate politics, but that's a whole different ballgame for me. And it's challenging to navigate and to try to figure out, what drives some of the craziness that takes place in that space. But really, when I looked at it holistically, I thought it represented a great challenge for me. And I thought my skill set was well suited to action against the opportunity areas.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I think that the governmental affairs stuff is more, it'll come to you, like you have to be, I was interested in it for a long time. I was excited about it, but then after a while I kept looking at it. I'm like, man, that's kind of, a lot of, when they call it politics, that's what they mean. Like you're going out glad handing people, shaking hands and talking to people. and a lot of them just have an agenda, and you got to figure out what the agenda is, to get through it.
So I have a really funny story about that. One of the first political events I went to was at a huge fundraiser in Indian Hill. And there was somebody who was kind of introducing me to several people. And I remember he took me up to a candidate who shall remain nameless. And he's introducing me. And this man, I kid you not, is looking over top of me. He is not engaged at all until the other person says Home Builders Association. And he immediately flipped and looked at me straight on.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, wow. I see how this goes now. I mean, it was really eye-opening for me.
Yeah. It's amazing. I remember that's happened to me a couple different times. They care less who you are. And somebody said, he's with the Home Builders Association. Bam, they're back at you.
Whiplash. How quickly this guy focused on me after that. Yeah.
You've got money.
Yeah. So it was just really enlightening to, you hear stories, but, try to give people the benefit of the doubt. But it was really clear at that point that it was all about.
Yeah. Well, it's business to business. That really, unfortunately, that's their business. So what's the Home Builders Association? What's it all about? What do you do? What are we doing here?
Yeah. So, we are an association really committed to helping our builders, remodelers, developers, and affiliated service providers thrive in this industry. It's about providing networking, education, advocacy, and making sure that we set them up for success.
That's good. Is that all you have to say? That's you're done. I mean,
I've been
doing this my whole life.
Places to go, people to see. It's Homearama time. Come on.
That's right. So, my family runs deep into this. I shouldn't say deep. We've been here for a long time. It's deep because my dad and I have done it forever.
I love your dad, by the way.
And everybody
He's the
does.
Cutest.
Everybody, he is, isn't he? I hear that all the time.
Why is he not here?
Because he doesn't work here.
I thought maybe he would come in. You didn't tell him I was here, did you?
I didn't. I haven't yet. He's a great guy. He's set the path for what we've done, and he set the path for a lot of people in the Home Builders Association, including myself. And so in my entire adult life, and even my childhood, I started working for the Home Builders Association when I was in the 6th grade. Been here a long time, and it means a lot to me. And that's why you mean a lot to me being here, and the things that you do. I completely respect your position and what you're all about. So when we talk about what the Home Builders Association does, I'm asking you this. I already know. I want the other people to know. I want the people to know, to listen, that are listening to know. So what's the goal of the Home Builders Association right now? I mean, where do you see it in 5 years? Where do you see it right now? What are you working on? Yeah,
that's a really interesting question, because in the short time I've been here, what I've noticed is the way that we serve builders and developers is going to differ in how we serve associate members. And so I think that's really a huge opportunity area for us right now, is to figure out how to kind of cater to both groups, but also bring that together. So obviously your associate members, they are clamoring for time with builders and developers. And then you've got your builders and developers who are spread really thin right now. And the last thing they want to do is go to an event and then have somebody trying to sell to them. So how do we kind of find that middle ground where you can serve both parties? One of the things we did more recently was something called Breakfast with the Board, and intentionally designed it such that it was an intimate environment. So we limited it to 10 members. We brought in 5 board members, builder board members. There was a $100 fee to paid for that, but it was a donation. So it went to Careers in Construction, PwC, or Build Pack. 90% of the donations went to Careers in Construction. So great way to raise some money, but the feedback from that was phenomenal. It was like I actually got to sit down across from Jeff Wieland and have a conversation for 10, 15 minutes before I switched tables. So it was about an hour and a half in total, served breakfast. I didn't stay in there. I just would come in and rotate the tables as necessary, but they got that opportunity to sit with the builder. They loved it. But also a big goal of ours is to really demonstrate the value of the HBA. I think a lot of people look at it and it's like, oh, it's a networking group. Yeah, that's a big part of what we do, but we also offer a lot of services as well. So we have the affiliation with OHBA and NAHB, and there are different services that come from them as well. But through our association as well as NAHB, there's a lot of member discounts and savings programs that are available that will actually, if you use those programs, will cover the cost of membership. And I've used some of those myself, so I can speak to the savings. I know that they're there. Dave Stroop and I had a little fun last year with our little slogan, hashtag Save Like Dave, where we had a little competition going. We were trying to see who could save more money. I think technically, I hate to say this, I think he beat me, but only because he bought tires for a Tahoe. I mean, but he, I remember him telling me the story, like literally in 1 week's time, he had saved $700 because he bought tires, he got a rental car. There are huge savings out there to be found, but you have to go out and do it. Right. And the same thing is true for, we have the HBA rebate program, which is through OHBA, and that's for builders. You have to sign up for it. All you have to do is submit your receipts and you get cash back. The average builder gets $1,500 back. We've got members that have gotten over $20,000, $30,000 back by participating in that program, but you have to sign up.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to go through that. I think that
it's a lot of work to fill out your name and address, and
it's a lot of work tracking it. I do it for 3 different organizations, through the OHBA, through our local, and then through our CBUSA group. And it's you can save a lot of money, but you got to do it. And I think that's what guys are. We're home builders. We want somebody else to do it, right?
Well, get somebody on your staff to do it, right?
Yeah, because they're not busy. They're just sitting around twiddling their thumbs, waiting for something else to do.
That's going to probably come back and bite you, right?
Right. So an associate member is the trade partners, suppliers, and then when you talk about OHBA and NAHB, Ohio Home Builders Association, right, which is our state affiliated group, and in our National Association of Home Builders, which is in Washington, D.C. And both of those groups, their priority is lobbying, right? I mean, when you talk about the politics of it and the areas. So when we think about the local Home Builders Association, you're concentrated on just the local area, not just the local area, but where is your area, and what are you talking about here?
Yeah, so we have an 8-county area here in Greater Cincinnati that we serve. And the majority of the work that we're doing are in the 4 big counties. So you think about Hamilton, Warren, Claremont, and Butler counties. That's the bulk of the work that we're doing. But we have the perimeter counties as well here in Ohio, and actually go up into Fayette County, which is pushing towards Columbus. So pretty wide territory that we're covering off on. And again, we're here to serve our members. So right now, Claremont County is kind of a hot topic, having some challenges there. And so we have a big coffee hour coming up this week, on Friday, June 14th. I believe it's June 14th, where we've got several members from Claremont County coming in to speak with us. And so really excited about that. We'll have a packed group. That's being done in conjunction with our OVDC, our Ohio Valley Development Council Board, who's super active and engaged in everything to do with building, engineering, et cetera. And if we have members out there that aren't part of that group and it's a good fit, I'd highly suggest you get involved there. It's a super committed group.
That's a working group, and they're always on top of things. They've got guys scattered out in every municipality and county and engineering, and talking about development standards. And I mean, we've been in meetings before, listening to those guys talk about some of the orifices that we had on pipe that they're laying that were costing more money because they were in a certain municipality, and they were trying to go back and lobby against them to say, we don't need to use this. I mean, just really detailed. I don't know how many places have organizations like that, but man, that OVDC is something else what they do. And you're right. If you can be a part of it, you should be a part of it.
And if I could just correct myself really quickly, my handy dandy calendar, it's actually Friday, June 16th.
I was going to say it's Wednesday is the 14th.
Yeah, well, I'm a little messed up with Homearama right now. It's been a crazy weekend.
For the Home Builders Association, moving forward, what are your biggest challenges today? I mean, what are you up against?
I think the biggest challenges right now really are there. It's related to how do we continue to evolve as everything else around us is changing. We are rich in history. We have a very solid foundation, and I want to respect that, but how do we carry that forward? And in some cases, that means that we have to change, and people don't like change. You're chuckling. But even something as simple as moving away from, providing a packet of papers during a meeting, that was really tough for people. And that was met with a lot of resistance, but it's the right thing to do, because as an association, we're not for profit. There's a lot of cost that goes into printing out packets of paper for meetings, the ink, the time, and then turning around and shredding it all after the fact because it's got confidential information in it. So how do we continue to evolve, and how do we take it to the next level? You don't want to just stay stagnant. I am happy to say that during our first year, we had somebody previously in a dedicated membership position. We opted not to backfill that position when I started. I kind of took on those responsibilities, and our membership actually grew 8% year over year, which is fantastic. And part of that is because we changed the approach. And that was a conversation with the executive committee to say, like, okay, let's lean into our board a little more. Like, you guys are the ones that are out there in the field. You know who these providers are. Like, all you have to do is have the conversation with them and tell them why it's important to be part of the HBA, and just kind of lay the groundwork for how it'll benefit them. Flip them over to me, and I'll have that conversation with them. I'll go down in the weeds with them and really explain it to them. And that's been really successful for us this past year.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge with any volunteer organization. We deal with it at church. We deal with it through the Home Builder Association. Deal with it wherever you go. It's just people are like, oh, I really want to do this. I want to help. And then until it's time to help, and then they're like, I don't want to help that much,
Right.
And so it's really just motivating people. And we had a class in that, I think, when I first joined the board or the executive committee. And it was, how do you motivate people without the threat of money, without the threat of risking their job? It's motivating volunteers, essentially. And so it's a tough job. You really have to be a positive person, a person that's organized like yourself. And there's a lot of things that go along with it. I think about when you were talking about the counties in the areas, to back up a little bit, a couple things. One is this organization is something that benefits everybody in the industry, everybody that are consumers, everybody that revolves around this industry, by a lot of work that's done by a few people. And some people will say, I'm not getting involved in that group over there, or we'll just let those guys do what they do. And you're not letting us do anything. These guys are volunteering, and it's a hell of a lot of time,
right? But
it's also a hell of a lot of work, and it's diligent, and it's really getting after it. I mean, we have a good time too. There's a lot of different things that go along with it, but man, I'm telling you, all the municipalities that are in between those counties. So if you say 5 counties, you got to think about the city of Mason, Liberty Township, city of Cincinnati. You have to think about all those different places that you are still working different angles, because they all have zoning departments, they all have building departments, they all have different everything. And so you're really digging in and working on that, being a resource for it. And it's amazing what you guys do with the work of a few people. And
and at the end of the day, it really is about who you know.
It is.
And that's where, even for me, I picked up on that very quickly. Okay, who do I know that has an in with this particular municipality, who can get us in the door? And that's where really just working those connections and knowing who you can rely on is super beneficial. And the same is true for the advocacy perspective. So, we had a situation last fall where we had a builder member that had a contractor that did pools, and they couldn't get their permits passed through the state of Ohio. They were just bogged down. And so they reached out to me, and I ended up reaching out to OHBA. I had them working on it. So Vince was involved, Chris was involved, and we still weren't, making the progress we wanted to make. So I reached out to a couple of our local congressmen's offices that we have a good relationship with. And I kid you not, within a couple of days, those permits came back through.
That's amazing, but it's also sad at the same time.
It is sad, but just to have those connections and to know that, okay, this is why it's important for me to go to these political fundraising
Very
events. And this is why I need to get out and I need to meet these people. It's because they are there to help us. And likewise, I can remember on a Friday afternoon, I think it was like 4:00, I get this phone call from one of the congressman's offices saying, hey, they're going in front of the Ways, House and Means Committee, and, can you give us some data? And I fired off an email late on a Friday, and you were included in it. Actually, yeah. I think you gave me feedback that I sent back, and next week they're in DC, and they're sharing that feedback verbatim. They didn't want data points. They wanted commentary directly from you all. And we were able to provide that. And I have a video of that, and that was posted and shared with everybody. And that's what it's about, is, making sure that we are investing in the right places. And when I say investing, I'm not talking just financially, but putting the time forth and making sure that we're making the connections and building the relationships.
Yeah. Putting the right people out there. So what's a typical day look like for you while you're there?
Well, there is no such thing as a typical day. That's
Right.
what I can tell you.
That's right.
And with my background, like I'm all about like, I take a very logistical approach to things. It's executional. How do you get it done? How do you plan for the unexpected? Rarely do I come in. Like I have my mental list that I need to get done. Rarely do I get to my mental list because there's all these other things that come through.
Yeah.
So it's, it can be anything from, answering questions for members to entertaining, conversations about new venues to where's this event going to take place to, here's a referral for a new member. Can you talk to him? And that's a priority for me because it is about making the connections or maybe it's a conversation with a member who's like, look, I'm not getting anything out of it. And that's a tough conversation to have. And I always start with, are you showing up? Are you coming to anything? Because, you can join the HBA, but if you don't show up, you're not going to get anything out of it.
Right.
You have to join or you have to come to the events and you have to put yourself out there. And I know that can be really uncomfortable for a lot of people, but we've got a process in place to help you. We have an ambassadors committee. We have people that'll meet you outside and take you into an event and stay with you and make the connections for you and introduce you to people.
Yeah. I think that's always a tough challenge because there's so many different personalities in the room and when you're there and I think at one point in time we had somebody we were trying to teach the people how to sell at events. I don't want to go like we said in the beginning. I don't want to go and be hanging out at an event and you're giving me the hard sell. Let's make the introduction. Let's talk for a minute and then go and move on and let's catch up later. And I think that's difficult because I want to be a jerk to them.
Right.
And they don't want to be too pushy, and it's a certain personality on how you get there.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting you say that because there's a member from a local lumberyard that I talked to. This was early when I started with the HBA, and I remember him telling me, he's like, I know these guys don't want to be sold to. So when I go to an event, I just look to build a relationship with them. I let them know who I am and where I'm from, and I'm there when they need me. I know that they already have somebody in place that they're using, but at some point, there probably is going to be something that company can't deliver. And that's when I want them to be like, oh, let me call Joe Bob over there because right. I know I see him all the time. And then they call me and he was just explaining to me, it took a couple years for him to start to get some of that business, but it's more than paid off now because he was patient and he didn't put the hard sell on during those events. And that's part of it. And more recently, I was at a happy hour where there was a credit union who had come in and he was a newer member and he had a big personality. He comes over to me. He's like, where are your builder members? I want to meet your builder members. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun to sit back and watch because it's not going to go well because he was all about, I want to talk to your builders right now so I can sell them. I'm like, you're going about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like you can't take that approach.
Yeah.
You want to clear a room, go the way you're going because that's what's going to happen.
Exactly. And I think that you also have to back it up. I mean, you've got to be a good company. You've got to be good at what you do. And if you're there selling and then you fail, it'll be easy to spread through the Home Builder Association to say, oh, look, this person, whoever it is, couldn't perform. And you got to be on top of your game. If you're already performing, you're probably going to be out there anyway. Yeah. But that's a big deal. So how is the structure of the Home Builder Association? You have executive committee, board of directors.
Yeah. So we have the board of directors, which is really the governing body of the association. There's an executive committee that's part of that. So you have your chairman of the board, your president, your first vice president and treasurer, second vice president, secretary. I work very closely with that group, as well as the board. And so, we're really looking at the business of the association. So we have board meetings every month. And a big component of that is just providing updates across the various committees that we have. So we have our E3 board too, which is Educate, Engage, Experience. That's the bulk of all of your events are coming out of that board. And that's a great place for people to get involved who are new, who want to make connections. If you start planning events, you're going to meet a ton of people right out of the gate. And that's what it's all about, right? So that's a great place to start. OBDC, obviously, we were talking about that, a great board as well, but there are reports that come out of both of those boards. We share out news on the state and national front. I talk about association news, so stuff that doesn't fall with underneath one of those boards. And then we also go through a financial presentation, and we have somebody who does an economic forecast for us about every quarter. And it really is about, for me, it's a strategic discussion in how we continue to move forward. That needs to be the priority there.
Yeah, it's a lot of great minds on that board and on the executive committee, and I think I was maybe 22 years old when I first got on the board, and in
You're just a baby.
99, I think it was, and everybody on that board was like 115, you know, and I think I spoke up one time, and it was like the room got dead silent, and they all looked down at me like, "What? Who? Shut up," you know, and I was like, listen, and I was mad at him, and I was probably bitching about him
You
somehow
were
or
mad?
another.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. And Ray Murphy, who was one of the greatest guys, you know, he's just this good old boy he was in the association for a long time. He wasn't a good old boy, but he's a good dude. And he grabbed me up one time and he said, you know, you really got a privilege here by sitting on this board. You're surrounded by some of the smartest people in the industry. And he was just talking these guys up and listening to him talk. And I was like, man, you know, I probably need to understand this better, you know, of who I'm surrounded by. And this is a privilege to be able to sit here with these guys. It's a seat that not everybody gets to have. Not everybody is respected enough to have. Not everybody's intelligent enough to have. And it's really meant a lot to me to be on that board and still today. Man, that's a long time for me to be on that board. I'm old. So who's your current president right now, and what's your executive committee look like?
Yeah. So our current president is John Cowan.
Yeah.
And he's doing a fantastic job. He is at virtually every single event we have. He participates in almost every meeting we have. Honestly, don't know how he's doing it. Whether he dials in or shows up in person, he's really present. And I commend him for that. That's a big undertaking, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
When you're running your own business and then you come in, I was joking with him at one point. I'm like, I'm going to start leasing some space to you here in my office because you're here all the time.
Yeah. And John's he's a builder, you know, and he's I always talk about us as a company, and they're the same way. You know, you're an actual builder, which is sad that we have to say that in this industry today. But he's running a loader, you know, he's out there framing houses, and he's doing a deal, you know,
Yeah.
and that's to me, that's what it's about. That's what the industry's about. And I think he's doing a good job.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. And Dave Stroop is our chairman this year. He's with Fisher Homes. Greg Burling will be president next year. He's a developer, hosted Chimney Ridge Homearama last year. Super committed, really passionate in the advocacy space. He's also the chair of Build Pack this year. So we're trying to really take a different approach with that and figure out how to get people more involved and get that off the ground. I think during COVID, it kind of went to the wayside.
I think it went to the wayside long before that.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to blame COVID because why not? But you know, we know that people are passionate in that space. And I think the challenge now is that people want their name associated with the contribution that they make. And so they're not giving to RPAC because they want that check to go directly to that politician with their name up. They want it to say Jeff Wieland, not Home Builders Association Greater Cincinnati.
Well, they don't want it to say Jeff Wieland.
They want it, right. Jeff Wieland, folks, he's going to write a check for all of you.
No,
Just call him up.
I don't think so. So there's another dude on your board, right? I mean, don't forget.
So Andre
I can't remember his name. Oh, that's right. It's Andre Frazier. Andre Frazier. Another good friend of mine.
Yeah, he's awesome as well. And I think he's taken it all in right now. Yeah. And he's kind of a quiet force. And similar to what you were describing, he's one where I can remember last year, you know, he sits there, he's focused, he pays attention. He doesn't say a lot, but when he does speak, people would stop and listen.
Yeah.
And there was one instance, and this was very early, maybe my first or second month, I guess my second month, where things got a little heated in the board meeting, and Andre spoke up and he kind of diffused the situation, which I was really grateful for, because
Yeah.
it was interesting.
He's such a great guy. I've got to know him from when he got started and all the way through now. And he's had to defuse me a couple times. You know, I'm on the phone with him. He's like, cooler heads prevail. Just remember that.
Yeah, he's so, I mean, he's like the gentle giant, you know, for those of you that don't know, he's a former NFL football player. So he's got this commanding presence when he walks into a room, but he's about the most soft-spoken person ever. And even when he shakes your hand, like I was prepped for him to like crush my knuckles or something. And he's just a gentle giant.
He's a good dude. He's a really good guy. And I want people to recognize him as Andre Frazier, the builder, you know, and the dude, the dad, you know, he's a good guy. And not, I hope that, I don't know if he cares about that or not, but I don't want people saying he's a former NFL guy, you know, and he's building houses. I want to look at him and say, man, he's a builder. He's out here doing it. And,
I mean, and his homes are holy cow.
Yeah. They're almost as good as mine, but, he's a good guy. I hope he's listening. For all those guys on the board, on the executive committee, we talked about Alan Gerbis, you know, Greg Burley. Those guys are they're just super guys. They're putting their time in. They're working, and it's a big deal. So let's talk about what we really want to talk about, right?
Yeah.
What is that?
Homearama.
Homearama, or as my dad would say, Homearama.
Homearama.
It's Homearama coming to you right now in June. Right now, we're in the show right now.
We had a great weekend.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So we kicked it off with a fantastic preview party Friday night. So thank you to everyone who came out for that. And this is our first week of the show, first full week. So the weather's looking good. The houses are amazing. They're beautiful. It's a different product. It's Urban Edition Homearama. This is also our 60th anniversary, diamond anniversary celebration. So you've seen the pictures. We did the big 6.0 drone shot at our ribbon cutting ceremony. And we're just really excited and really encourage everyone to come out and check out these homes. These builders, I mean, this was a tough development. It's in the side of a hill.
Yeah.
There were a lot of challenges that folks haven't dealt with before. This is our first time crossing the river into Kentucky for a show. It's a different ballgame. And, you know, there are contractors that don't want to cross the river and work in Kentucky.
A lot of people that don't want to cross the river.
Well, there are a lot of people don't want to cross the river. But this is a unique show. TJ Ackerman, the developer behind it, he was my chairman of the board last year, rather. He was part of the committee that found me too. And so he's a great guy and just really encourage folks to come out and check it out.
Yeah, definitely. TJ has been all about the organization. It's been great to see him come along, and he's another one of those guys, man. He puts it out there for the organization.
Yeah.
I think it's great that you've expanded into Kentucky and to be able to do this. I think it's something I've always felt like needed to happen with Greater Dayton and with Northern Kentucky and with Greater Cincinnati. That as time evolves here, or as things evolve and time goes on, we're going to need to do more of this. And so we're in Northern Kentucky, and I knew we didn't build in the show this year, but we do excavation for other builders, and I think my brother went over and graded up a lot for Alan Gerbis over there, and he called me and he's like, "Oh my God!" And I called Alan and I'm like, "Listen, man, you can't take a dude that's had like 12 heart attacks and 3 hip replacements and have him stick him on the side of a hill to grade a hillside like that in a skid steer. You're going to kill him." But he was talking about how great the houses look, how great the show looked even back then. So Leanne doesn't want me to talk about history that much because my history is with the home builders or with the Homearama. I started working for Homearama.
History of the Homearama, right?
Well, my dad and Alan Paul. Alan Paul is the guy who started it, and just this great dude. I had the chance to work for him even when I was a kid. I started working for Homearama when I was in the 6th grade. My brother is 4 years older than I am, and he would drive us there, and we would. Back then we had to put the show together and take the show down, and we did. I mean, man, we had speakers because we had music going through the whole show. We had to fence off the whole perimeter with this snow fence, which was miserable. And then we had to run stakes and string up and down every driveway, every road. And me and my buddies would get out there year after year and do it. It was a lot of work. And I think I started out making $2 an hour. Is what it was.
That's not even minimum wage.
It was. I promise you. You hear those stories like I was making a nickel an hour, and it was like it was $2 an hour. And I think the following year we either got $2.50 or $3, and we were high on the hog, man. I mean, we were. I swear I was making more money back then than I am right now. It was amazing.
Well, hey, speaking of hogs, like I've heard some stories about a Homearama where they fence off hogs. We
did. It was Vista Point in 2003, and this this guy that was just upset because there was a development going in his backyard, and our tent was right down, the exhibition tent was right down below these hogs, and he had like 10 of them up there, and he was so worried that the construction workers were going to come up and kill his pigs and take them away from him. and this was this was one of the many entertaining times I've had in my life, and I think it was Terry Sievers who had to go up and negotiate with this cat to get him to calm down, and he was for real. This is what we were put on this earth for, was to kill his pigs. And it stunk. I mean, that tent gets hot. I mean, we didn't have air conditioning. That tent is 300 and some feet long, 195 feet wide, and it's just all like this vinyl. And so when it gets hot in there, it gets hot, and you got this pig stench that's going through there, and it was unbearable. So
reminds me of home.
Yeah, it was beautiful. But you could write a book on all these things that happen. There's a lot of guys there is a book not that book. Elda Marshall always used to say she would make more money by guys paying her not to write the book than she would actually get for writing the book. I can only imagine.
I had the opportunity to meet Elda last year too, and it was really cool. And she was so sweet, and she sent me the nicest card. And just, it's so nice, to get together with some of the old timers, if you will. And when we did the President's Dinner last fall, that was the first time I met a lot of them.
Yeah.
And a funny story about that, and I will call this guy out just because why not? Bob Ryan walks in, and I'm at the door, and he does not give me the time of day. I even tried to talk to him, and he blows me off. And I guess eventually he asked some of the guys that he was sitting with, like, who is that woman? Like, who is she? Why is she here? And they tell him who I am. And he comes back and he's like, I'm so sorry. I apologize. Nice. I didn't know who you were. But it's all good. But
that's funny.
It was, I took a picture that night and posted it on social media. I don't know if I should share this or not, but I will. But I get a text from my daughter, and she's like, did you volunteer at like a senior home tonight? And I'm like, what? And she's like, who are all those people you're with? I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, you didn't comment on social media, dinner. Did you? And she's like, no. She's like, where were you?
That's great.
I'm like, oh my goodness. And so I was just sharing with her, and she thought it was really cool too. I mean, her dad's a builder, so she gets it. And I was just, to be able to share the history, when you get with those guys and they start talking, I mean, I just take it in and listen to them. They have so many great stories, and they're still so passionate about what they do. And to me, that's what it's all about, is the passion that you get in these rooms sometimes. And sometimes it is heated passion, but it's because they care.
Yeah. And they're passionate about the Home Builders Association and Homearama as well. And talking about Elda, she gave her life to this show and always did, out there every night, and when I chaired the show for all those years, every night sitting in that ticket booth, counting the money, making sure that everything's running smooth. It was always like that. But Homearama is rich in history for me, for my family, but for the community. It brings a lot of revenue to the communities. I mean, I think that any community that doesn't want it is nuts. And I think that when you have the opportunity as a developer, you need to take the opportunity as well, because it brings a lot of people to the show, or to the community, to the neighborhood. I'm sorry, and just really thrives. A lot of people, when we sit in the show day after day, a lot of people are just come there as a tradition.
Yep.
They've been coming since they were kids. And they come there not just to see the houses, but it's because it's something to do. It's a family night. It's a date night. It's people are waiting for it. They love it. And I think that's something to be said for the Home Builders Association in the history of the show. Yeah.
And I think it's something, as we talked earlier, like I've been going to home shows my entire adult life. And so it's something that I look forward to every year.
Yeah.
And it's fun just to go in and look at the different designs and the architecture and to see how things are changing. But it's also really cool when the builder's there. And, I remember going to Walworth Junction, which was during COVID. Hello. I think we were the only association to put on a home show during COVID and hold it in person, which is, we received a lot of recognition and an award from our national association for that. But I remember going through houses and I talked to you, and I didn't know who you were at the time until afterward. Well, my husband tells me after the fact, he's like, that was a builder, right? And I'm like, no, I had no idea it was a builder. And I thought it was really cool that he actually answered my questions, because we're out there talking and you're listening to us, of course. And I'm being critical of the fact that there's some give on the rooftop deck. And you're like, well, here's why there's give. I didn't know, but it was really cool that you took the time to explain that to me.
Yeah.
And so there is something to be said for that. And you get, it's the idea generator too. So a lot of people can't afford a Homearama home, but they can go in and see what's being done and come back and bring that to their own homes. Or they may see a builder and say, hey, can you build in this price range? Not all of you guys are doing $1 million plus homes nonstop. I mean, I know you are, but, no comment, I guess. Nothing.
What am I supposed to say? No, I'm not.
No, Lora, if you want me to build a house for you for $100,000, I'll do it.
No, that's not what's going to happen.
That's your fee, right?
I wish.
But no, it's a great event. And what we've done with Homearama is we really have made it an event. And so you have food, you have drinks, we have live bands, we have different events taking place. So sip and shop. I mean, ladies, come on, what more could you ask for? That's like the premier event. Go sip, shop, and look at homes.
Do you still do the SPCA, or do you do anything with a pet adoption? We do
pet adoptions as well. I personally don't allow myself to go out on that day because I'm the crazy dog lady, and I would come back with all these pets.
That was my greatest days, funnest days when I'm there, because I can get out of the house. I'm like, I got to go up the street, and I'm down there playing with the dogs in the front yard.
You don't want to bring them home? You have a farm. You can bring them all home.
Well, no, I'm not allowed. I just know that, I'm not allowed to. I'd love to, but I know I'm not. So the show is, let's talk about the dates, how you get tickets to it. What can we do to talk to people about coming out to the Homearama show? Yeah,
so it started June 10th, this past Saturday, and it runs through June 25th. There's a full calendar of events. All the information about tickets online at cincyhomearama.com. One thing just to remind folks of, we do not have on-site parking. Again, we're on the side of a hill. There's already a lot of development around. The streets are more narrow because it's an urban environment. And so we do have off-site parking, and we have a shuttle running nonstop.
Which, in my opinion, is probably a little bit better, because you're not walking all the way from the back of the back 40 coming up to get to the show. You're walking out of the parking lot, jumping on a bus, and they drop you off right at the front gate.
So at the front gate. Yeah, really cool. There is some on-site ADA accessible parking for those that need it, but otherwise, just make sure that you go to the off-site parking. If you show up to the site, they're gonna turn you away to go to the parking.
So how many houses are there? How many builders are there? Who are the builders?
Yeah, so we have 8 homes in total. We have 3 single-family homes that start at 1.5 and up. One of those is sold. And then we have 5 townhomes. So we have Ashford Homes has 2 single family homes and 1 townhouse.
Wow.
Homes by Gerbis. Alan Gerbis has 1 single family home. Meyer John has 2 townhomes, and Thomas J. Ackerman Company has 2 townhomes.
Wow, man.
And the townhomes, I kid you not, stunning. They start at $750,000. I know there's at least one of them that's listed over $1 million. They're incredible too.
And I think that's something, when we were in Walworth Junction for that show down there, when we were in Lebanon for that show up there, and TPC and Heritage Club, a couple places where you can really give the people coming to the show an experience, because it's not just, you're not just going out, and you can go through model homes every weekend whenever you want and see decorated models and whatever. But when you get to the show and you get to see this kind of carnival atmosphere where you can go out for a date, you can eat dinner, you out there, you can hang out and drink, you can listen to music. You get to walk around, nice evening, see these beautiful homes, but see homes that you wouldn't see on a daily basis. This stuff that we're doing over here in Kentucky, you're overlooking a river, right? I mean,
the views are truly $1 million views.
Yeah.
Panoramic views for miles. You have a great view of downtown Newport, the Queen City. It's breathtaking. I mean, you really have to go out and check it out.
I agree. And I think that if you if you're not there to see the house, you can at least see this view. And it's something that it's like, if you get to do it once, you should do it because it's going to be really cool. So this is Homearama. And I just really appreciate you coming out here and talking about it. Like I said, Homearama runs deep in our blood. We're going to be, and let's give a shameless plug for next year in Stone Pillars in Goshen. And we're going to be in that neighborhood next year building Homearama for Wieland Builders. And man, this will be our 25th year building in the show. So we're one of the oldest builders that ever built in the show, longest running builders built in the show. And the only reason I say that is because it really does mean a lot to me. I've got a lot of, I really did. People say, when did you start working? Like I was on a farm working when I was 5. I did start working at Homearama when I was in the 6th grade, taught me how to work hard, taught me a lot of different details, taught me how to deal with the general public, whether that's good or bad.
Right. Depends on the day.
Yeah. So Homearama, through the Home Builder Association, and man, thank you. So I've got a couple of different questions here I want to ask you that maybe you know or don't know about, but I went and found some people to, we call this a lightning round, but there's nothing lightning about it.
Okay.
So
maybe it's enlightening.
Right. It's enlightening. So your favorite employee, Karen Pfeiffer, who's been there longer than I have, is...
Did she change her diapers?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I probably needed a diaper at some point, but she didn't change it. So it's been a long time with me and Karen. And so she says you have a special cookie that you need to eat, right? You
Cheryl's
have to ship
cookies.
it in.
Yeah, Cheryl's cookies. If you guys are looking for a little favor, just send me some Cheryl's cookies. It's a Columbus-based company. They're since been gone, or they've been sold to a big. I think they're part of like 1-800-Flowers now. All of that. Wow. But it was a woman who started it in Columbus when I was growing up, and so they were in malls and stuff. And when I graduated from college and went back to Columbus, there was a Cheryl's Cookies right there, and that was my treat every morning. I got 2 cookies and a can of Coke, and instead of having the freshman 15, I think I had the postgraduate 20.
Hillbilly breakfast.
Right. I mean, who does 2 cookies and a Coke? But I quickly learned that was not in my best interest. But I do have a huge sweet tooth, and I won't eat big meals during the day, but I will graze. And we have a big candy bowl that I actually put around the corner by Karen's office, so it's not within arm's reach for me. I have to literally get out of my chair and walk across the office to get stuff out of it. But then I have my stash in my overhead cabinet as well of sweets that I'm always into.
It's like it's okay if we hide it. I don't know why the girls always put that bucket of candy out there in the front too, and I'm like, we're trying. If you're on a diet, why do you keep filling this thing up with candy? Put fruit in there.
It's for everybody else, right?
Why don't we put fruit in there? Let's put some bananas
in there.
Nobody
puts fruit in there.
You should put bananas in there.
Nobody puts fruit in there. I think about it, but why would I do that?
Who's your hero? You have a hero in your life?
Oh, that's a tough question. Who's my hero? I don't know. I mean, there are so many different people, and I think it changes as you go through the various stages of life. Like who that would have been when I was growing up is different than who it is now. I really have a lot of respect for my husband, and I know that might sound a little cliche, but again, blended family. We've been married for 13 years, and the journey, his faith journey, and I've watched how that's evolved, makes me really proud of him and makes me want to be better in that space. And I always say, when we're talking through things like that, I'm like, I feel like I'm always about 10 steps behind him, but it inspires me and wants me to be better.
That's good.
And he makes it a priority, and I need to make it more of a priority. It's definitely a priority for me, but he gets up every morning at like 5:30 and just has a devotional time, and I need to be better at doing things like that and prioritizing.
Where do you go to church at?
So we go to Branches Church, which is in Loveland.
Yeah.
Yep. And very active and involved there. Love my church family. And again, it's a priority for our family. And they're our family.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I've heard you mention your faith a couple different times, and that's why I asked you that question. So what's your favorite song?
My favorite song.
What's your go-to?
If I could turn back time,
really?
Cher.
Nice.
Yeah. Cher.
Man, But you keep talking about moving ahead and making change, and then you're talking about going back in time.
Cher's like iconic. I mean,
Yeah.
who doesn't love Cher? I'm a product of the 80s. I love the big hair bands of the 80s. But I also love the Killers. We've seen them multiple times in concert. I don't know if you have or not, but they put on one heck of a show.
Yeah.
But anybody from the 80s, if the big hair from the 80s would come back, I would be set.
They're back. I mean, you can get Sirius XM radio and you can just listen to 80s on 8 all the time with the top 500
you bring
countdown.
back the shoulder pads and the big hair.
Yeah.
That was my day.
Okay.
That was my day.
Yeah. Groovy.
That's the 70s, not the 80s.
Groovy's not the 80s?
No, that's the 70s.
What was the 80s? It was, I thought Groovy was that was the 70s. Wasn't it?
was.
What did we say
Were
in the
you
80s?
even born in the 70s?
I was born in 1974.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really? What do you, this is just not Rip on Jeff Day today.
No, you look very nice today.
Oh, thank you. So do you. You look very nice. Thanks for getting dressed up and coming in here. Carly Carpenter says you already have a sweet tooth, but you think you have a thing for chocolate, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, who cannot? You can never have too much chocolate.
Your husband Tommy talking about the fact that let's tell us a bit. You're a runner, right? You've run some marathons. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I have run a ton of marathons and half marathons. I was a pace group leader for a local running store for a while. And it's funny because I love doing it, but I have a love-hate relationship with it. And I'm also what you would call a lazy marathon runner. So Tommy would make fun of me. He's like, how many times are you going to drive around looking for like the closest parking spot? You're going to go run 20 miles tomorrow. Like, just park wherever. I'm like, no, because I got to find the closest spot.
Yeah.
But it's, again, it's a challenge. So not everybody does it. It takes a lot of discipline and a lot of training, and the sense of accomplishment and pride when you cross that finish line is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're part of an organization too, weren't you? For
Girls on the Run. Yeah. Still actively involved with them. So that's a local nonprofit for girls, really first through 8th grade. Most 7th and 8th grade is a little bit different, but first through 6th grade, where we train them to run their first 5K. But the way the curriculum is set up is that it's not just based on running. It's really about making it educational. So helps them with self-esteem, with dealing with social media, the bullying that accompanies that, teaches them healthy eating habits. And the way that we train them for a 5K is that we do fun activities, not just like go run around in a circle or go run a mile. They're doing fun activities. So it's really based on learning and helping them grow as young ladies. And it's huge. And, when we have those 5K races, if for anyone who's never been there before, it's so incredible to watch. You have all these little girls out there in tutus and tiaras that are running. So it's an event as well. So before pre-5K, we have face painting. We have the tiaras that they can decorate. And you'll see dads out there in tutus running with their little girls. But we have a lot of kids that are on scholarship as well. And so we will pair them up with a running buddy if they don't have somebody to run with them, which is really cool. So a lot of inner city kids are out there and we're pairing them up with somebody to run. And then they're also fitted for a pair of shoes.
Wow.
Actual running shoes. That's part of the program itself.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. That's
great.
a great organization.
Great.
I love hearing about stuff like that where you find these niches like the pink ribbon girls and girls on a run and just helping people.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for.
Yep.
Not there to raise money or and where you don't know where it goes. You can see it where it goes, which is really cool. So the other thing Tommy talked about is you have some sort of history with a remodel project, like you're a DIY.
Okay, so I know all the ladies listening will understand and appreciate this, but you have HGTV, which makes everything look super easy, and who can't do it, right? I could build a house tomorrow
in an hour and a half,
right? And for like $10,000 too. And so I was on Pinterest one day, and in our former house, one of our girls was in the basement, and it was a finished space, but there was nothing fancy about it. And it had like the big breaker box on the wall and then some other random box. I never did figure out what it was. But so I'm looking at Pinterest one day and I'm looking at statement walls. I'm like, oh, I can do that. So I start watching the videos and it's like, oh, it's a 2-day project. I can do that. And so I was off between Christmas and New Year's. I'm like, I'm going to surprise everybody and do this. So I don't tell Tommy that I'm doing it. So I go out, I set my budget for it. I watch all the videos, and I was going to use shiplap. And then I get to Lowe's and I'm looking at the shiplap. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to have to stain that and then, do or paint it. I'm like, why don't I try to use like, the flooring? what's that called?
Yeah, like the pre-finished floor.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll just use that. It's already done. So I started buying it and I get home. So I frame out the wall because I didn't put it directly on the wall. I framed out the wall. So I'm doing all this again, unbeknownst to my husband. And I can't find a saw. So I'm using a hand saw, which is not good.
Look at you.
And I get into it.
I don't have one of those up here.
I get into it and I'm like, holy cow, this is going to take me a little bit longer than I was thinking. Long story short, my 2-day project took me about 3 months. Because I had to build a door to cover the breaker box. I've never built a door before. Yeah. So I got the stuff on the wall, no issues. It was that breaker box that just about broke me. I made that door 3 times because I would make one. I would get it up. I'm like, I should do this instead. So then I would take it again and take it down and start over.
You're a builder.
And now I'm a builder. It took me 3 months. But the joke was I would go down into our basement and everybody be like, how long are you going to be down there? I'm like, just a couple hours. And like 8 hours later, are you going to come up anytime soon? I just got a few more minutes. Okay, I'm going to bed now.
Yeah.
And it literally, because I could only do it on weekends. So it took me about 3 months to finish it, but it looked good in the end.
At least you didn't have a customer complaining about how long it took you because you were
my
trying to make it better.
customer was my family, who's like, seriously, like, how long are you going to spend on this 2-day project? Yeah.
That's funny. HGTV. It'll do it for you.
Right.
We're getting ready to start a house. It's like 12,000 square feet and everybody keeps, and the people want to be anonymous and everybody's always like, what does he do? What does he do? And I told the guy last night, I'm like, we need to come up with a fake company or whatever you do. And he's like, tell him I'm a worm farmer. My wife is a glass blower. That's what it's like on HGTV. And our budget's $15 million, And it's like,
you should tell people that they won the lottery.
Right.
And that they're factory workers or something.
We could.
Yeah.
We could. I mean, I'm not much for not being honest with people. So I think the more drastic you make it, the better. I mean, that seems too real. Like I'm deliberately lying to them.
What about a pot farmer?
But I could do that. Yeah.
Because then that'll start all the conspiracy theories and, all the cars driving by and the dark cars and the vans parked across the street.
It'll predict what kind of sod we're going to lay, that'd be different.
So you have a little fun with it.
Man, I just want to say thank you again. I really appreciate you. I respect you. I respect what you do there. You're in a great position. You do a great job.
Thank you.
And the Home Builders Association, like I said, I'll say it a million times. It's really deep into my family, and it means a lot that you're there at the helm running it.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the show again one more time. Homearama is running through.
Homearama started on Saturday, June 10th and runs through the 25th. Invite everybody to come out. Hours are 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Thursday, Friday through Sunday, 12 p.m. to 9 p.m.
And they can buy tickets online?
Buy tickets online, yes.
Yeah.
Or at the gate.
Which was the website?
CincyHomearama.com.
All right, there you go. Hey, everybody, this is Lora Brand with the Greater Cincinnati Home Builders Association here on the WB Download. Thank you again.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. That was Lora Brand with the Home Builders Association of Greater Cincinnati. We're talking about Homearama. We were talking about the association and how it's set up, how it's run, the things that the association does for our industry in Southwest Ohio and across the country in the state of Ohio are so important and so important. And it's the work of a few that benefit many. And I hope people realize that it's not just a club or something like that. It's a lot of work that gets done in there. A lot of things that are necessary for our industry. We are a heavily regulated industry, and we are trying to keep that at as low as we can, it's really high, but we're trying to continue not to be overregulated. That's something we do in the Home Builders Association. We do business in the Home Builders Association. We have friends in the Home Builders Association. We have a lot of things that are happening in the Home Builders Association. So, like I said in the beginning, it's something that's really been important to my family, important to me. My dad was the only president of the association that's been president twice. He was president in 1983 and 1993. He was also one of the longest running chairmen, along with Alan Paul, of the Homearama show. And knew that association on both sides. And then I came along in 2005 and was the president of the Home Builders Association. In 2020, I was president of the Ohio Home Builders Association, which is the state of Ohio Home Builders Association. I've served on the board of our national association for a long time and have a lot of things going on there. So it's really important. It's something that my dad started, a legacy that my dad started and I've carried it on, and it means a lot to our company. So Lora Brand is a new executive officer, so to speak. She's been here a little more than a year, and she's doing a great job, and it's a tough task. And I think she's going to take it great places. So I'm really grateful for her coming on here. I know she's busy because of HomeArama and the show, and there's a lot of things happening. But I appreciate her taking her time out to come out and talk to us and keep on trucking. So, hey, let's remind everybody that HomeArama at Martin's Gate in Northern Kentucky, the show runs from June 10th through the 25th. And you can get your tickets at cincyhomearama.com. That's CINCY, homearama.com. And go check out the show. Got some buddies of mine that are building over there that built the show, and they do a great job. Stop in there and see them. And make sure you annoy them. Touch everything in the house and open the refrigerator. Look for things that you have no business looking for, and see if you can't say hi to them. So, hey, thanks again, everybody, for listening. Appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the show out there. I hope you enjoy this episode. So we are going to be back the last Tuesday of the month. We had a little break here, skipping over the months from May to June. And we'll be back. And I've got an awesome guest. Has nothing to do with building houses, and she is just rocking it. And I hope that you guys tune in. That'll be the second Tuesday, or the second Tuesday. No, the last Tuesday. I'll figure out where I'm at. The last Tuesday of the month in June. I'll see y'all then. And don't forget. Please subscribe to the WB Download, and you can email me if you have any questions, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you think that I'm completely off my rocker about anything we talked about and you need to comment on it. Email me at wbdownload@wielandbuilders.com. That's WIELAND builders.com. And if you want to know more about Wieland Builders and try and find out and see some of our custom award-winning homes, please check us out at wielandbuilders.com. That's WIELAND builders.com, and see what we have to offer. I hope you be proud of us. I know we certainly are. Thanks again, everybody, for listening here on the WB Download. I'm Jeff Wieland.